Let me give you a secret. Now, big tech companies like Google will never come into a country if people are not lobbying for it. People lobby, and by me saying lobby, they have people that know what to say to certain people to make them, convince them for them to give you certain things. Oliver Twist, I want more. If you don't ask, you never receive. Now, certain big time Ghanaians are actually behind certain big tech. I just don't want to speak too much. I want to give you all the info, but as always, Makamuko Mfante.
TV Ghana, Matoda na Master.
Now, anybody adwin there over a period no, so do oya December bosomana. Young there a lot of people oya foreigners, wo fi US abochimem UK, abofufu eja, bogu Ghana emayimo. Now it's just because you do some of these foreign countries like the UK and the US dama mbobodi ya. Snow top. It is a snow no nyama sa oya dama. Temperature na kwa high dam na staying in such places is hard. And there, comparing Ghana to them, some of these Ghana has on the snow to her. It's quite clear. But then Hamatan. And the weather is actually better as compared to one another. And so it becomes a period that is the Christmas day, but yeah, party, there are no restrictions. I mean, certain people, some family members from outside will be coming, some people will be visiting each other. It's actually a booming period. And at the same time, party no kodo. Businesses also flourish during that time. Now, young with them, over a period, no certain oil and yama kitty has actually gone in favor of Ghana. It's actually been one of the very magical things. The way to Mwabwa oil and that Dr. Nana-Bawumia and one album way to Noah flourish. Now, the US government, headed by the President Joe Biden, Kade, and very many Morocco, your pada of African folk. Now, the African countries know to would now one another we see. Now Ghana so the president not Danka Kufado. No, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia so declared there. The Ghana as a country no, they are declaring it beyond aid. It's Ghana beyond aid. Sabakaya. Na dama samna wozo to Gano. Ninya no chede. Then ka first na bana wa badon nyina war pede. Obakwa kajem boy with if US abuchimem no. This particular time around no. Enye beg no obokodo. But this time around no more be there. It will be based on business agreements. Into some of the business agreements, or sign into maybe your BB or budget. Now, we sign some of these agreements. Not there, circular flow. Into that particular thing, into some of the commitment US abrichimim, what towards the African countries, all of the African continents here, 14.2 billion. 40.2 billion. Now Ghana nature forward 14.2 billion in business agreements in 3.7 billion. So that should tell you there. You go as Ghana no, in paying forward to Ghana him, or President Nana-Bawumia, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Napa for the ministers, all of them no, warrior DA, them brother, they'll be able to garner a lot of companies, a lot of business agreements for Ghana. So the benefits of it, so we have seen the like of Google, we have seen the like of certain fintech companies. You there, Elon Musk, speak no. Some of these things just help Ghana, and now I been work because they don't have the facts and they won't give them and something saying it. They think they I am another and true being a year to church, but no, this is actually a true fact. 3.7 billion out of the 14.2 billion should tell you there. The people are watching at nature, watching a second nature. They are making sure they get it to the people who want it more and who want to help their people. Until when Nana-Bawumia and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, they want to help their people. Until they always present certain business agreement to be it is juicy enough for the people of the US, the US government. Them they will be able to agree to certain business terms like this. Now, this full circle business agenda programmer in with there. Nana-Bawumia crowd could do one work will be certain questions there. Hey, it's Nana-Bawumia. Upon all these African countries, the Africa or the African continent, you two know kind there. Senya besida one of nyama the best when you're there there about provide free SHS exam my form babu nyina ma obi a wetu akwa SHS free not we boy economy there e pede quotation area because of the JHS akonya ne dawo de say a pass to SHS na chede butu akwa university inti sadama situ kan ni situ me ya even no was starting when tumu anye nza abaze pa na ohye won kran abaze pa na du kwem abaze pa na oye won so adu hu na o ma that father ama particular line no need to me ye na asama na nado kan no before gbogbo na nbokwa akasa nbokwa na nsembo. And the people on what's now one they were Ghanaians, so they were made up of over 1,000 Americans. Our Bagana Maimo. And that should tell you there no doubt say obi wo kroma ha na so ɔre yade na sɛ instead of that Obama no ɔbɛhyɛ no nkran instead of that ɔbɛ praise nidin instead of that ɔbɛka asɛm bi ɔwɔtum no wato na kasa na akoma na waso a source of oil motivation was that man na sɛ enya binom today former president John Dramani Mahama na apamfo na waka dɛ free SHS no runtumi nyɛ na bi waayɛ mpokwa ntumi nyɛ ne yɛ ya na sɛ wɔn wo ba ɔbɛyɛ ma adze no waayɛ fɛ a awan kasa wan sam na kasa sɛ adze no ntumi nyɛ ɔyɛ na owie yɛ ɛsɛ na sisia no ɛbɛdo a ɛbɛsɛ sɛ nyɛma bi wɔ ho because sisia adze na oye na that man sɛ me sɛ ka na ɛpa akyɛ den asɛm a obiara kan yɛ dɛ ɛyɛ na obi a sɛbe ɔyɛ komhyenyi no onya ɔyɛ itiripa anede obi a man fans wɔn ankasa no krofim ɔyɛ ampa na asɛm no wegi ne ho na ewu de nanado na nwa just at this point na ewu de certain African presidents Rwandan president South African president there what budget do dama asɛm a ozutu gwa na ewa mempe de makaka ne nyina yɛbɛkɔ ɔyɛ nanado na akachi na nsɛm a ozutu gwa no.
It is a great honor for our community at Princeton here to have His Excellency the President of Ghana here today as a guest to share his views about the future of Africa and the future of our world. President Nana's argument today is that the future is Africa. The President sees education, in particular high school education, as the key to economic development, taking a leaf out of the playbook of the Asian tigers who invested heavily in human resources development. His objective is free education from preschool to and including high school for every Ghanaian. And one of the first laws he introduced after taking office was to make secondary schools free for all. While others see Africa's youthful population as a challenge and sometimes even a threat, right? President Nana regards a well-educated youth as a key to unlock a golden future for Africa. The future is Africa. Your Excellency, may I invite you to share with us some of your insights and wisdom.
My presence here completes my speaking engagements at the Big Three. After being at Harvard this year on the 29th of March, my 75th birthday, and last year at Yale on 27th September. I'm very fortunate and privileged to have this experience. The theme of this year's maiden conference, The Future is Africa, Translating Vision into Action, is most compelling as it speaks directly to the nature of the existential challenge confronting contemporary Africa. It is obvious that we need to get on with things that will change the Africa story. The daily grim stories of our young people trekking across the Sahara and dying from thirst or being washed up on the shores of the Mediterranean as they try to get into Europe. We cannot be proud when, according to the Brookings Institute, nearly 413 million of the population of sub-Saharan Africa lives in poverty, with some 140 million African youths being unemployed and 89 million children of school-going age out of school. Therefore comes as no surprise that our continent attracts the unfriendliest of adjectives. The irony is that Africa should not really be in this conundrum. There are good reasons why we should be able to get ourselves out of the hole and onto the path of hope and prosperity. Indeed, as the theme rightly states, the future is African, and properly so. Firstly, Africa is endowed with tremendous natural resources. The continent is rich in resources that could form the base for processing industries and allied downstream manufacturing industries. According to the report of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, 8th African Development Forum, Africa ranks first or second in the world's reserves of bauxite, chromite, cobalt, industrial diamonds, lithium, manganese, phosphate rock, platinum group metals, soda ash, uranium, vermiculite, and zirconium. Indeed, 30% of the Earth's remaining minerals are to be found in Africa. We're also becoming an important player in the global production of oil and gas. Secondly, Africa has an abundance of land. She possesses over half of the world's uncultivated arable land. Sustained investment in Africa's agriculture, emphasizing the application of technology, especially digital technology, could yield enormous benefits for the African and global economies in the provision of foodstuffs and diversified agro-based economic activities. Food security for the African peoples would be assured, and the billions currently spent on the importation of food would be free to spend on the other sectors like the serious deficit in infrastructure. Thirdly, Africa's youthful and growing labor force. The United Nations projects that by 2050, Africa's working population will be about a quarter of the world's population, and a third of the world's youth population, i.e. between the ages of 15 to 24 years, will be in Africa. The empowerment of this young population, with access to education and skills training, would constitute a very powerful tool for economic development in Africa and the world. Fourthly, as a result of growing industrialization and the emerging structural transformation of African economies, countries are becoming more involved in the high end of the global value chain, trading in both final and intermediate manufacturing products. Under these assumptions, by 2030, we will be talking of an African export market of some 3 trillion United States dollars. You do not need to be an optimist to acknowledge that Africa is where there is room for growth, and the future is indeed Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Union's Agenda 2063, titled The Africa We Want, calls for an education and skills revolution to meet the human resource needs for inspiring Africa's socio-economic development. The African Union has quite correctly placed high premium on science, technology, innovation as critical ingredients to the achievement of Agenda 2063. The 21st century is the century of science and technology. African youth recognize that the mastery of digital technology is a necessary challenge for them to surmount if they are to survive in this competitive technological environment. They have embraced the use of technology in helping to create solutions for the challenges confronting our continent. Technology is what helps us to make the world truly a global village and enables once poor people to become prosperous and scale up the value of their economic activities. The provision of education for our young people should not become an ideological issue. We should never have to make a choice between basic education or higher education. We should never have to rely on the World Bank or any other institution to decide for us where the emphasis should be in our education needs. Education is the key to our development, and we must run our economies to be able to fund the education of our children. We should not get into arguments with so-called donor agencies about our priorities. We have to set our own priorities and accept that we should provide the funds to translate our plans into reality. That is why, despite the bleak economic situation my government inherited, we decided to implement immediately the pledge we had made about providing free senior high school education. The most dramatic aspect of its implementation has been that this year, the third year of the implementation of the policy, will witness enrollment of 1.2 million pupils in our high schools, the highest ever in our history. It has also meant that a third of our national budget is dedicated to education. We have good reasons to be proud of who we are and the beautiful continent that is ours. I hear a lot about the need to change our narrative and tell our own good stories. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds as much as success. If we work at it, if we stop being beggars and spend Africa's monies inside the continent, we will develop, and Africa will not need to ask for respect from anyone. We will get the respect we deserve. There's a story I've been told about this university that I like, and which clearly illustrates the point. I understand that some 30 or so years ago, this university offered a course in Mandarin, and for years had virtually no takers. Today I'm told there is standing room only. And it is not because the course is any easier or the language any less difficult. It is because the position of China has changed. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, China was nowhere near where it is today. China does not ask anyone for respect now. She does not need to. She even has the muscle to engage in a trade war with the United States of America. We can make Africa the prosperous and joyful place it should be. We can get the respect we deserve. Our young people must see and feel the dividends of democratic development. Our success story and change narrative come with building economies that are not dependent on charity and handouts. Africa, I am confident, will be a wealthy and dynamic member of the global community, making her own unique contribution to the growth of world civilization. May God bless us all in Mother Africa and make her great and strong. Once again, many thanks for the invitation. And thank you very much.